Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into a place you've smelled before in your dreams, even if you've never been there. Picture this: cold, damp cobblestones beneath your bare feet, mist clinging to the roofs like damp wool, and the faint jingle of coins echoing through the air. You wake before the sun, drawn by a sound. Not birds, not roosters, but the clack of cartwheels and the groaning of wood as someone hauls a canopy into place. This, my friend, is not just any morning. It's market day in a medieval village. You probably won't survive this, not because it's dangerous, but because it's overwhelmingly alive. It's noise, smell, chaos, greed, filth, wonder. And somewhere under all of that, a glimpse of the real Middle Ages. Not the castles, not the knights, but the daily engine of life, the marketplace. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop your location and local time in the comments, because nothing brings people together like imagining we're all wandering the same muddy alley in a village from 900 years ago. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You rise early, long before the first rays of sunlight split the crooked shingles overhead. The air is still, quiet, except for the heavy boots of merchants rolling in from neighboring towns, tugging ox carts laden with barrels, sacks, and things that jingle or leak. The smell hits you before the sounds do, a blend of damp hay, smoke, wet dog, and the faint sweet promise of baked bread if you're lucky. You wrap yourself in a rough wool cloak, itchy, always itchy, and step outside. The cobbles are slick with dew and soot. Already the central square is coming to life. Wood stalls, packed away for a week, are being unfolded like puzzle boxes. Nails hammered, ropes tugged, tarps thrown overhead in what looks like chaos but is really an unspoken choreography. Everyone knows where their spot is. No signs, no names, just turf. Your neighbor, the widow with the nasty cough, is already arguing over the edge of her stall with the tanner who stinks of lye. Someone nearly gets a plank to the face. No one apologizes. The village market is a living thing, and it wakes like a bear, loud, hungry, and only semi-conscious. Near the edge of the square, the fishmonger slaps down a dripping crate of eels, and they slither for freedom across the stone. Two boys chase them, one barefoot, one in wooden clogs. Neither bothers to grab them. It's more fun to pretend. A rooster flaps past in protest, chased by a laughing woman with flour on her apron. Her bread stall isn't even open yet, but she's already dropped off 2 loaves for the priest. Payment, not kindness. You walk slowly past all this, your breath rising in visible clouds. In another hour, this quiet murmur will become a roar. For now, it's the in-between, the magic hour of beginnings. You help the basket weaver untangle a net of chicken wire and twine. He doesn't thank you, but hands you a pair. It's half bruised, but sweet. This is how favors work here. Nothing costs, just coins. By now, the town gate has creaked open, and you see them. The outsiders. Strangers with accents just wrong enough to be interesting. A woman with a cart of green apples not native to this region. A man selling dice carved from bone. A trader from the port city to the south with dyed silks packed in waxed linen. His sleeves are too clean for someone who slept outside, which means either he's new or he's dangerous. They move like they own space, which in a medieval village is the surest way to lose it. Some are pilgrims, others peddlers. A few just look lost, and no one asks questions because everyone here wants something. As the sun peeks over the treetops, gold light pools on wet stones. The shadow of the church bell tower stretches across the square like a sundial. It will toll soon. One slow ring to mark the official opening. Vendors pause. It's not religious, it's practical. No one wants to start shouting too early. You sip water from a gourd, warm, slightly sour. You miss the stream already. But walking to the edge of town means losing your place near the front of the line at the butcher's stall. A woman walks past carrying a dead goose over her shoulder like a purse. Its feet bob with each step. No one stares. This is normal. You hear the first whispers of song, someone tuning a lute in a corner, probably the young bard who got run out of the last village for suggestive lyrics. He sings cleaner now, at least until noon. The bell finally rings, one long low groan of metal on metal, and like someone tore the sky open, the noise begins. Voices, shouting, haggling. It comes in waves. Prices barked, insults hurled, laughter, screaming children, clinking coin. You pull your cloak tighter and move into the crowd. There's no such thing as personal space. Your elbows bump baskets, while your boots land in puddles that might be water, or worse. A pig squeals so loud it startles a guard, who drops a spear with a clang that makes everyone flinch. Someone yells about rotten onions. Someone else hawks a tonic for baldness. A woman with no teeth sells the best cheese in town, made from goat's milk and hope. And over it all, drifting like incense from a forgotten altar, is the scent of roasted chestnuts. You follow it without thinking. You don't buy anything today. You don't need to. Being here is enough. Feeling the life of it, the rhythm of commerce and community, the sharp edge of survival softened by jokes and shared stories. This is what people really did in the Middle Ages, not just fight wars or build cathedrals. They sold buttons and bread and dried fish. They complained about prices. They stole apples. They flirted over beets. And yes, sometimes they danced. You glimpse it now, off in a corner. A girl spinning with a jug balanced on her head, moving to a pipe's melody. 3 children clap. A dog barks. And somewhere behind it all, a merchant counts coins. Because even here, even now, someone's always profiting. So ends the first hour of the market day. You've barely scratched surface. Ahead lie stalls of meat, dye, potions, and deceit. But for now, you brief smile to yourself and follow the sound of a laughing child into the heart of the market. You're just getting started. Section 2. By now, the market is fully awake. No more lazy cart pulls or whispered greetings. The sun is up, peeking between clouds like a nosy priest, and the square is alive, pulsing like a heart, full of sounds, smells, and sudden near collisions. You step lightly between them, ducking a swing of someone's pole, catching the edge of a gossip you probably weren't supposed to hear. It's not just a crowd. It's a system, a living creature, and it's hungry. You feel like a thread being tugged through a needle, drawn deeper and deeper into the marketplace by momentum alone. Because now comes the setup rush. It's the most chaotic time of the day, and also the most exciting. Near the tannery stall, a boy is shouting. Loud. Maybe 12 years old, but with a voice like someone twice his size. He's advertising goat hides free of maggots, which weirdly is not a joke. Hides often arrive crawling if left in the wrong cart overnight. You walk past quickly. His voice is impressive, but the smell, less so. The sharp scent of lime, wet leather, and something worse, rot masked with rosemary, clings to the air like a second skin. The tanner, a wide-armed man with missing eyebrows, gives you a nod. His hands are red from constant lye rinsing. He looks like someone who's forgotten what clean means, but probably remembers every debt owed in the square. Across from him, the potter is struggling with his stall's canopy. One post refuses to hold. A child nearby giggles every time it falls. You offer a hand. Together, you get it standing. He grunts a thank you and hands you a warm clay cup. You don't ask what's in it. You sip. It tastes like dirt and fennel, and you love it. Further down, a barrel cracks open. Salted herrings spill out like glistening snakes. A woman curses in 3 languages and demands help fast. No one moves. Why? Because she's new. And in this market, respect has to be earned, not bought. Eventually, an older man helps her repack the fish, muttering something about last year's eel woman. Apparently, she lasted 1 day before vomiting on the priest's boots and vowing to move to the forest. Fair enough. At the square's edge, the bread carts arrive. Too late, as usual. The baker's apprentices are red-faced, arms flour-dusted, and very loud. Their master? Nowhere in sight, probably still asleep or drinking. Still, the bread is warm. Rough loaves with cracked tops, thick crusts, and steam rising in the cold morning air. The line forms instantly. You don't bother joining. Locals never get bread first. It's a tourist's mistake. You keep walking toward the meat rows where things get more intense. But not before nearly tripping over a 3-legged dog. He barks once, then sneezes, then follows you. You have a friend now. The sun hits full height over the square now, casting long shadows and lighting up the canopies in soft, faded colors. Most are patchworks, stitched from old fabric, sailcloth, even the odd curtain nicked from someone's manor years ago. The effect is beautiful, like a quilt for the sky. You pass the toolmaker's stall, where iron blades glint in neat rows. Sickles, hammers, fishhooks, even a few items that might be lockpicks. though he swears they're buttons for shy doors. He has only 3 fingers on his left hand, says that's how you know he's good. You don't argue. Somewhere nearby you hear singing. Not pretty singing, more like shouted poetry set to a drum made of stretched catgut. A group of traveling performers, perhaps, or drunk monks. Hard to tell. You peek around a crowd and spot the source. A man in a wooden mask, juggling apples while telling jokes in rhyming couplets. A crowd has gathered. Laughter ripples through the street like warm wine. He juggles, slips, recovers, and then makes an impressive farting noise with a wineskin. The kids lose their minds. You smile, then step aside just in time to avoid a cart being dragged through at speed by a donkey that clearly hates everyone. Its eyes find yours. It knows. You know. You move. Back toward the center, the candle maker is setting up. Beeswax blocks, tapers, even tiny ones shaped like saints. He doesn't talk much, but you've seen the way he carves at night, hunched by his window, eyes glowing gold in the candlelight. He sells small miracles. You buy one, a candle shaped like a lion. No reason, just a feeling. As the morning grows older, the market's rhythm intensifies. Vendors begin shouting louder. People haggle harder. Someone's already crying over spilled milk. Literally, there's now a puddle in the road, and 3 ducks are trying to swim in it. No one stops them. Everyone's too busy. Because it's set-up hour, and this is when everything must be perfect. Coins are counted, weights are adjusted, stalls are realigned, and prices, well, they begin to shift. Because just like the market changes by the hour, so does the truth. What cost 1 copper at sunrise now costs 2. The wise come early, the fools come late, and the desperate, they come just before noon. A fight breaks out near the grain sacks. 2 men. One claims another stole his spot. The other denies it. The village guard ambles over, not in a rush. They'll shout, maybe throw 1 punch each, and then shake hands. That's the market way. No blood today, probably. You move on. The crowd parts for an old woman pushing a cart full of dried lavender, her eyes sharp, her back unnaturally straight. Rumor has it she used to be a midwife, or a witch, maybe both. Her stall always smells like sleep and secrets. You decide to visit later, when things quiet down. The donkey returns, this time with a carrot in its mouth. It still hates you. You still respect that. By the end of the setup rush, the square is a swirling, stomping, singing riot of humanity. Each stall now fully arranged, each merchant in position, each smell layered over another until it all becomes the scent of survival. You feel sweaty, awake, very slightly trampled, and entirely alive. And there's still the fishmonger's call to hear, the cheese stall's secrets to sniff out, the spice merchant's tales to question. But those come next. You pause, turn toward the rows of meats and fish, and follow the sound of guts hitting straw. Because that's where the real market starts. Section 3. You don't so much walk into the meat and fish row as you step across a threshold, one made of smell and sound rather than stone. It's thick here. Not just the air, but the tension. The shouting is louder. The smells are sharper. The haggling, downright brutal. Welcome to the raw, red, salt-soaked heart of the medieval market. Your feet land on hay scattered over the cobblestones, half soaked with fluids you'd rather not identify. A nearby barrel sloshes. Not water, something thicker. Maybe brine, maybe blood. One of the apprentices is cleaning his boots by dipping them in and out of it. You silently promise your stomach to behave itself. You've arrived at the stalls of meat and miracles, depending on your level of hunger and tolerance. Let's begin. The butcher stands like a monument, square-shouldered, aproned in something so stained it could be an abstract painting. His hands, surprisingly delicate as he lifts a pig's head with the tenderness of someone lifting a sleeping child. Then slams it down on the chopping block hard enough to send a chicken squawking 5 stalls away. He greets you with a grunt. No words, just a gesture. You want tongue or tail? You raise 2 fingers, tail. He nods, slices it clean in one stroke and wraps it in cloth that smells faintly of rosemary. Not for seasoning, just to mask the scent. He leans in close, whispers, today's cow had strange eyes. Good for soup. You don't ask what that means. You don't want to know. Next to him, the poulterer is mid-argument with a customer who insists the goose she bought last week still had its soul in it. Whatever that means, the vendor just shrugs. Maybe it liked you. Live birds squawk in wicker cages, wings flapping. One particularly angry rooster stares at you like it's sizing up your sins. You give it a wide berth. Because honestly, you do feel a little guilty. Past the meat stalls, a boy with a bucket of livers tries to sell you prophetic entrails for a penny. You pretend not to hear. He follows for 5 steps, then gives up, muttering about how only the brave seek truth. You're not brave today. You're hungry. Then comes the fish. You smell it first. Salt, rot, and something oddly floral, like someone tried to perfume the ocean. Doesn't work. The stink is impressive, pungent, sharp, oddly nostalgic, like memories of beachside trauma. The fishwife reigns here, a tall woman with biceps that could wrestle oxen and a voice like thunder with a hangover. Eels fresh enough to bite ya. She slaps a silver coil onto the table. It moves. People cheer. A boy screams. Another vomits. Someone buys 3. A scholar once wrote that fish markets were where truth went to die. Because no one knows the source. No one asks, is that river fish? Sea fish? Is it even fish? You try not to look at the one with teeth. It's smiling. Too many teeth. You move on. You pause at a salt merchant, hoping for something gentler. He's carving bricks of salt into small cubes, perfect for preserving meat or rubbing into wounds. His fingers are cracked and white with powder. He offers a free taste. You decline. He laughs anyway. Behind him, smoke curls upward from a tiny grill where sardines sizzle. The smell? Devastating. You buy one. It burns your fingers. You love it anyway. All around you, deals are being struck. Lamb kidneys for 2 eggs. Ox tongue traded for iron nails. One man offers 3 smoked herring in exchange for a pocket poem. The bard accepts, recites one about a drunk nun and a goat. Everyone laughs, even the nun. The row is loud, intense, sensory overload, and yet it's honest in its own way. Here, the food speaks for itself. No fancy stalls, no dyed canopies, just slabs of flesh, buckets of scales, and a quiet understanding that everyone here knows what death smells like. That's what makes the meat row sacred. It doesn't lie. It feeds you, and it shows the cost. You spot a strange newcomer, a thin man with pale hands and fine robes, his face half covered with a cloth scented with cloves. He's a noble, or a fool, maybe both. He's holding a dried eel with the expression of someone inspecting a cursed relic. You watch as the fishwife sidles over, grins wide, and smacks him on the back hard enough to send his hat flying. He buys the eel. Of course he does. She winks at you. You nod back, a secret pact sealed in scales and chaos. At the edge of the row, a piglet in a sack squeals loud enough to draw attention. Its owner, a wide-eyed girl of maybe 8, insists it's not for sale, it's her friend. A grizzled merchant offers a knife in exchange. She kicks him in the shin and disappears into the crowd. You silently root for her. You realize something. The fish row always smells, even in memory, even when you're back home, years later, half asleep and dreaming of better days. You'll smell this place. And remember the heat, the grit, the calloused hands of butchers, and the taste of smoke on your tongue. This is where the market breathes deepest, where it bleeds, where it feeds. And just when you think you've had enough, the boy with the prophetic entrails returns. This time, he's holding a heart, still warm. 3 coppers, he says, and I'll tell you what you'll dream tonight. You hesitate, then reach for your pouch. Why not? This is the medieval market, after all. And here, everything has a price, even prophecy. Section 4. You step away from the scent of salt and blood, deeper into the humming arteries of the market. Now the noise shifts. Less grunting, more chattering. Less slicing and slopping, more sing-song arguing and melodious laughter. Welcome to the stretch of language, gestures, and the pure theater of trade. You've entered the merchant lane, where words are the sharpest tools and smiles conceal more blades than a blacksmith's tent. This is the land of haggling, and whether you like it or not, you're already part of the performance. The first thing you hear is a shout, not angry but enthusiastic. A round woman in a red scarf waves at you with a basket of garlic on her head and at least 3 teeth in her mouth. 2 cloves for a kiss, she cries, laughing like a waterfall over rocks. You smile. She cackles. That's how it works here. Everyone's selling something, even if it's just joy. Next stall over, a man in a blue cap is arguing, no, performing, with a farmer over a wheel of cheese. He declares it was made from the milk of a cow blessed by a saint. The farmer retorts, then why does it smell like the devil's backside? A crowd gathers. Bets are made. Eventually, the cheese is bought, not because anyone believes the story, but because the story was worth paying for. You drift past a stall hung with trinkets, bone necklaces, beads, charms carved from wood and horn. The merchant catches your eye. You look cursed, he says. Bold. You raise an eyebrow. He lifts a finger solemnly. I can fix that. You smirk, but then he adds, or make it worse. Same price. Now you're intrigued. It's in this part of the market where the true economy isn't copper, it's confidence. If you sound certain, you win. If you speak well, you eat. If you hesitate, someone else gets the deal and you're left with cold porridge and regret. The best merchants speak 5 languages badly, but just well enough. You hear snippets of French, Dutch, Latin, Arabic. You catch insults, compliments, prayers, jokes. Some make no sense. May your ox never reverse without warning. You chuckle, even if you don't understand. Near the center of this lane, a scribe with ink-stained hands is offering to write love letters or curses, depending on your mood. His writing samples flutter in the breeze like holy relics. One reads, "My dearest Yvette, your eyes are like boiled plums, and my heart aches like a taxman's ledger." Romantic? Maybe. Accurate? Who knows? He's doing well, though. 3 boys are paying him to write the same poem for 3 different girls. You wonder what happens when they compare notes. At a table covered in dice and carved tokens, a young merchant is demonstrating his wares to a passing noble's guard. He flicks a coin high into the air, catches it with a grin, and lets it vanish into his sleeve. "Buy one," he says, "and your luck changes." The guard hesitates. "You don't believe in luck?" the boy teases. "Then you'll need 2. Sold." The deeper you go, the faster the language dances. People shout numbers, weights, and promises like spells. You hear 2 for 3, salted, not sour. Tell your mother I forgive her. Back in 10 minutes, or maybe never. This is not just trade. It's ritual. A shared understanding that lying is fine as long as it's clever. That haggling is not about price, it's about dignity. No one wants to feel like a fool, so they pretend not to care. They walk away, they wait, they return, they pay. You see a woman do it with a bucket of figs, you see a man do it with a second-hand boot, you do it yourself, finally, buying a tin amulet shaped like a frog. You don't know what it's for, but you felt good getting it, which honestly is the point. Somewhere above all this, the church bells toll. Not the noon bell, not yet. Just a half ring to warn the bakers to remove their first batch before it burns. But it's also a signal the dealers of rare things are coming. And suddenly the crowd leans in. Because the ones who trade in silk, in glass, in spices, they arrive late and their prices climb fast. You spot one now, a merchant with a curved dagger at his belt and a headscarf embroidered with suns. He spreads a square of deep purple cloth across a table and lays out bottles, tiny ones, filled with powders, liquids, and things that glitter ominously. Someone whispers it's from Cairo. Someone else, it's from his aunt's barn. Doesn't matter. He sells 3 before even speaking. A woman with braided hair sells paint pigments next. Bright powders like ground-up dreams, vermilion, ultramarine, ochre. She lets you smell them. Earth, fire, salt. She won't tell you what makes the blue. You already know lapis lazuli, more expensive than gold. You buy a pinch to hold the sky in your hand, just once. Then there's the man with the bell. He wears no shoes. He's blind in one eye, but his voice, clear as thunder in a chapel. "I sell truths," he says, "not objects, not charms, just truths. A penny, and he tells you something about yourself no one else knows. You watch a child test him. The boy hands over the coin. The man leans in, whispers something. The boy runs, laughing and crying. What did he hear? What would you hear? You check your pouch. Only 1 copper left. Maybe later, maybe never. Eventually, your ears ring. Your brain hums with words, accents, phrases, and voices. You've been spoken at, argued with, charmed, tricked, tempted, mocked, and thanked all before noon. You rest on a barrel. A man selling onions hands you one for free. You look tired, he says. You nod. Then eat, he says. You've earned it. You bite into the raw onion. It stings. You cry. He laughs. You laugh. Then he sells you another. Half price. Because even when you're tired, the market never is. Section 5, noon hits the market like a drumbeat. Not just the bell tolling from the chapel, though that rings out deep and somber, echoing off timbered roofs and stone walls, but the shift in energy. The warmth grows, shadows shrink, and everyone slows down. Just a little. You feel it in your chest, like a second heartbeat. Morning rush has passed, the chaos doesn't stop, it just changes shape. Welcome to noon in the medieval market, where everything starts to unravel or explode. You sit briefly on a crooked bench beneath a crooked awning. Your body hums with fatigue, your ears with the ghosts of merchants shouting prices. A dog lies under your feet, maybe the same three-legged one from earlier, or its cousin, hard to tell. It sighs. You sigh back. Above, the sun is high and angry. No cloud dares challenge it. The stones of the square begin to radiate heat upward like a bakery floor. Somewhere, someone's fish is starting to cook on the table, and that's when you smell it. The first sign of noon, roast meat. It hits your senses like a memory you didn't know you had. Crisp fat, smoking rosemary, something sweet, maybe apples? Somewhere nearby, a family of travelers has set up a makeshift grill using hot coals and a spit cobbled together from old iron rods and a wine barrel. They've skewered what looks like a rabbit. It's sizzling like a hymn. You watch 3 children huddle around it, eyes wide, mouths watering, hands absolutely filthy. You don't blame them. You're not even hungry, and you want it anyway. The food row of the market comes to life after midday. Bakers wave hand fans over trays of fresh flatbread and sweet buns. Boiled dumplings steam in burlap-lined baskets. A large iron cauldron gurgles suspiciously. You peer in, cabbage soup thickened with barley and mystery. Beside it, an old woman ladles portions into clay bowls with terrifying speed. She doesn't talk, just squints, then she sees you. Yours will be better, she says. You pay without question. It's delicious. Probably because it's made by someone who doesn't pretend. You find a shady corner beside a crate of apples and sit cross-legged to eat. Nearby, 2 monks argue over a sausage, while an apprentice in black velvet eats dates like they're coins, tossing the pits into the street. A man tries to sell you pickled goose feet. You decline. He shrugs. You'll regret it, he mutters. You probably will. Midday is also the hour when the liars get loudest. The tonic sellers, the miracle peddlers, the snake oil monks. One man claims his powder cures melancholy, boils, and unwanted dreams. Another insists his paste can remove curses, yours or your neighbor's. The weirdest of all? A woman with a hawk on her shoulder who speaks only in riddles and sells small bottles of air from heaven. No one buys it until someone does. Then everyone does, even you. You're not sure why. It smells like thyme and church walls, but now it's yours. At the market's north side, a group of traveling players sets up their tiny stage. Wooden boards nailed to barrels, a painted curtain flapping like laundry caught in a storm. One of them shouts, "A tragedy, a comedy, and a dance with death, all for 2 pence." People gather, coins clink, the show begins. You hear, "Behold, the tale of Sir Reginald the Rotund, who ate his horse and blamed the bishop." Laughter explodes. Someone boos. You laugh too. The play's bad, but good bad, full of slapstick, puns, fart jokes, and costumes held together with hope and string. A man in a donkey mask nearly falls off the stage. A child in the front row tries to steal his tail. It's chaotic magic, and for a moment, the whole market stops. Even the fishwife, even the tanner. Everyone watches, everyone breathes together. It lasts only 15 minutes, but it's the closest thing you felt to peace all day. When it ends, you clap until your hands ache. Then toss your last silver coin into the player's hat. You don't regret it. Noon also marks the time for private dealings. While crowds thin at food stalls, sharper eyes move to quieter corners. The alley behind the candle seller, the back of the dye merchant's tent. You spot someone hand off a pouch, too fast, too casual. A whisper, a nod, a quick exit. Are they exchanging rare herbs, stolen items, love letters, curses? You'll never know. That's how it's supposed to be. Some parts of the market are not for you. Near the well, you find an old man drawing charcoal sketches of people who didn't ask to be drawn. They notice. He shrugs, then sells the sketch to them. One shouts, "That nose isn't mine." He replies, "It could be. You buy one of yourself. It's ugly, but you look interesting, like someone worth remembering." Back in the sun, a woman leads a goat dressed in ribbons. No one questions it. Someone places a wreath on the goat's head. Someone else sings a song about cheese. The goat does not approve. You pet it anyway. It bites your cloak. Fair enough. As midday peaks, the market begins its pivot. Some stalls are now out of stock, especially the good bread, the fine spices, the small candles shaped like saints. Those go fast. Others are just getting started. The musicians tune their lutes, the jugglers unwrap their knives, the gamblers lay down their bones, and you're full of food noise of stories, and yet somehow still ready for more. Because the market never ends. It just changes its mask, and at noon, it's grinning wide, inviting you to stay. Section 6. You move again, not because you're in a hurry, but because staying still in the medieval market is like inviting the world to spill its stories directly into your lap. And you're not quite ready for that yet. So you drift, follow the current, letting your senses do the steering. Now you enter the craftsman's quarter of the square, where hammers tap, shuttles slide, and fingers calloused by decades of repetition coax beauty out of stone, cloth, and wood. The clang of metal is your first clue. A short, wide man hunches over an anvil, coaxing a blade into shape. Sparks leap, flash die. His face is soot-marked, his hands impossibly steady. You pause, mesmerized. He doesn't look up, doesn't speak, but you're not invisible. Don't touch anything, he growls softly. You nod. Fair. Just beside him, the woodcarver is chatting cheerfully with two children, shaping a whistle from a sliver of cherry. It chirps like a bird. The kids shriek with delight, trading him a copper and a kiss on the cheek. He blushes through his beard. I'll carve one shaped like a dragon tomorrow, he tells them. He looks at you. Want a fox or something darker? You say fox. He starts cutting. Next to him is a weaver, and she moves like a storm cloud wrapped in wool. Her loom hums, her shuttle dances. Threads of red and gold and ash twist under her hands. You watch for too long. She glances up. Waiting for something to unravel, she asks. You don't answer. Not because you're shy, but because you're not sure. The stalls in this row smell of lanolin, smoke, ink, and lavender. You pass parchment makers, glass blowers, and leather binders. You pause at each one. Some let you watch, some do not. It's a mixed ritual of creation and secrecy, and the rules are unwritten. The bell maker stands apart, literally. He's deaf, but he can feel vibration. He taps his bronze molds gently, listening with his fingertips. One bell rings clear. He smiles. You can't hear it properly, drowned by the market noise, but the clarity in his face is enough. You buy the smallest one. A bell you can't hear. But he can. Not all craftsmen here are honest. You spot a boy melting bits of old silver behind a canvas flap, recasting them into new coins. Nearby, a woman sells Roman relics that look suspiciously like river rocks painted gold. Still, people buy, because stories matter more than truth, especially here. At a low table, two scribes argue over a new alphabet one has invented. It's full of spirals and unlikely accents. He swears it's easier to write Latin prayers with. The other calls him a bored goose with ink-stained dreams. They duel with quills. You applaud. Farther along, a maker of masks quietly arranges her creations. Animals, saints, demons, nobles, peasants, all carved from wood and stiffened linen. She gestures for you to try one. You pick a cat. She nods. That one's seen too much. It fits perfectly. The sun is beginning to lean westward and shadows lengthen under the stalls. But the craftsmen work on, unhindered. Time doesn't rush them, not the way it does the food sellers or jugglers. A good blade still needs cooling. A proper robe still needs stitching. Art waits for no market, but the market waits for art. You settle beside the bookbinder, whose hands move gently over spines like a priest blessing children. He offers no pitch, no chatter, just nods. You pick up a small volume, leather-wrapped, hand-stitched, no title. You open it. Blank pages. He smiles. It's waiting for your words. You leave it behind, but think about it for the rest of the day. A pair of twins run a dye stall, their fingers always stained green or red or blue. You ask what's the most expensive color. Blue, says one. Gold, says the other. Wrong, they say together. It's memory. You laugh, but something in their tone makes you wonder if they're joking. The craft row isn't just pretty, it's practical. You see deals made, shoelaces for apples, combs for buttons, a fine cloak traded for a carved box with secret compartments. One woman trades a single earring for a cradle. She touches her belly and smiles. You turn away before she sees your eyes misting. Behind a curtain, tattooist works in silence. His tools are bone needles and soot. His canvas, people bold or foolish enough to offer skin. You peek in. He raises a brow. You You shake your head, he nods but sketches a design anyway. A feather caught in wind. He pins it above his door. No words, but it's yours now. By mid-afternoon, the craftsmen begin cleaning, counting, arranging. Some are done. Others ramp up. The bell maker hangs a final chime. The weaver lights a candle beside her loom. The carver begins a new fox. You feel full, not with food, but with process, with patience, with the quiet understanding that everything here takes longer than it should and is better for it. As you leave the craft row, your pockets feel heavier, not with weight, with meaning. A bell, a wooden fox, a smell of burnt wool in your sleeve, and a whisper of ink on your wrist from where the scribe insisted you try his new alphabet. You'll forget some names, but not these hands, not these smells, not the rhythm of work humming like a prayer behind the noise. The market moves on, and so do you, but you carry the makers with you everywhere. Section 7. You wander now into the noisiest, most unpredictable corner of the market, the one where the line between entertainment and danger blurs completely. This is the realm of the street performers, the tricksters, the musicians, and the fire breathers. If the craftspeople whisper and the food vendors bark, these people shout, sing, juggle, and scream. The first thing you see is a man standing on his head while reciting the Lord's Prayer backwards. The second thing you see? A woman walking a tightrope between two oak posts while balancing a basket of pears on her head. And the third? A juggler hurling knives high enough to make the church pigeons scatter, his feet dancing atop a barrel that wobbles more with every step. You've stumbled into the mad heart of the medieval carnival, and now that you're here, it's impossible not to be swept up in it. A drummer slams a rhythm into the cobblestones that rattles your teeth. A flutist joins in, her melody sharp and playful, darting between the heavy percussion like a fox in a vineyard. Children spin, adults sway, an old woman claps on the offbeat and doesn't care. A man dressed as a bear charges through the crowd, roaring theatrically. He stumbles, then bows with a grin missing several teeth. Coins fly at his feet. You toss one. He roars in your face and pats your shoulder gently. It's terrifying. You love it. The puppet show draws a tight ring of bodies, mostly children. You squeeze in. Two wooden figures bob and shriek atop a painted platform. One's a priest, the other a goose. The plot makes no sense. The goose wins. Everyone cheers. Again, a boy cries. New ending this time, the puppeteer announces. Goose wins again, says someone. He does. Because of course. Nearby, a woman on stilts shouts riddles to the crowd. Answer correctly and she tosses you a sweet. Answer wrong, you get a splash of water. You're hit 3 times. The sweet's not worth it. But you stay anyway, smiling with soaked sleeves. A fortune teller calls to you. Her stall is barely a stall, a torn cloth for shade, a cracked mirror, a table littered with bones and candle stubs. Her eyes are sharp, her hands are smooth, too smooth. She says, I know where you'll die. You raise a brow. Don't worry, she adds. It's not here. Not yet. You pay her in bread crusts. She reads your palm, then laughs. Well, you're either doomed or very lucky. You decide not to ask which. Across from her, a minstrel duo begins to sing. One plays a lute with broken strings but perfect rhythm. The other belts out a tale about a knight who fell in love with a ghost and married a tree. The rhyme scheme is a disaster, but the crowd eats it up. You find yourself humming along before it's over. A woman weeps softly beside you. Maybe she married a tree too. Then come the dancers. Barefoot, jangling with bells and sashes, they move like the wind caught fire. One twirls so fast her braids become a blur. Another freezes mid-leap, perfectly still, then lands with a thud that shakes dust from a roof beam. They invite you to join. You shake your head. They grab your hands anyway. Now you're spinning, stumbling, laughing, completely ungraceful, but entirely welcome. It's over before you catch your breath. You collapse beside a boy with soot on his nose who declares, you dance like a goat with a broken toe. You bow in gratitude. He nods solemnly. Even the animals perform here. A trained pig spells letters with its hooves. A crow plays a tiny bell. A dog stands on 2 legs and prays for food. People adore them. You do too, because in this corner of the market, absurdity is sacred. Of course, it's not all joy. A street thief is caught, his fingers still in a nobleman's pouch. The guards drag him away. The crowd watches silently. No jeers, no applause. Just that flicker of tension when the fun turns too real. The juggler drops a knife, the drummer misses a beat, the flutist falters. Then it all resumes. Because laughter needs risk, and the market, like the world, never stops for long. As shadows stretch, a fire eater takes the square. He doesn't announce himself, just appears, barefoot, shirtless, eyes like hot coal. He lights the torch with a whisper, raises it slowly, then presses it to his tongue. The crowd gasps. Then he breathes it in and spits it out. A wall of flame leaps skyward. Children scream. Women clutch their cloaks. The men pretend not to flinch. He bows deeply. The applause is thunder. He does it 3 more times, each bigger, brighter, riskier. By the 4th, you can't breathe. By the 5th, you forget where you are. By the 6th, you don't care. When it ends, he disappears without a word, like fire itself. You realize your cheeks ache from smiling, from laughing, from living inside this strange and beautiful rhythm. And you realize something else. This part of the market, as chaotic as it is, gives more than it takes. It feeds you stories. It lets you be foolish. It reminds you of wonder. In a world where plague and famine and swords wait just beyond the wall, wonder is worth everything. You find a quiet corner, sit in the dust, let the noise wash over you. A juggler passes, still spinning apples. A drummer starts again. The bear dances with a child. A goose puppet waves. You wave back. And somewhere in the music, the madness and the movement, you hear something deep in your chest say, "This is why people stay alive. For this, for today, for the market that never stops singing." Section 8. The sun dips lower now, and you notice it for the first time in hours. Not because the heat is gone, it lingers, clinging to stone walls and wooden stalls, but because the light begins to change, slanting golden across everything. The colors of the market soften, but the sounds don't fade. In fact, they grow stranger. You've arrived at the part of the day where the medieval market gets weird. At first, you don't notice the difference. You pass the usual stalls, bread, cheese, herbs. But the bread is dyed green. The cheese is shaped like moons and cats. The herbs have names you don't recognize. Wolf's crown, bleeding fig, angel's tongue. A woman with silver rings on every finger tells you, "One bite of this mushroom and you'll dream of places that don't exist." You ask, "Is that a good thing?" She replies, "Only if you wake up." You move along. Fast. Welcome to the magic lane. Not magic, though that's part of it. Magic, with a K. Here, everything has a purpose beyond its shape. A jar of dust? It's not just dust, it's ash from a saint's bones. A candle that flickers sideways? It's said to point towards secrets. A stone with a hole in it? It's for seeing fairies, or demons, or both. You don't ask too many questions. The merchants here prefer whispers and riddles. At a stand made entirely of black cloth, a man sells dream maps. They look like regular scrolls, but he insists they're drawn based on visions people had during fevers. This one leads to a mountain that screams. This one shows you where your future lover buried their name. You pick one up. It's blank. He winks. Only works at night. You almost buy it. Almost. Across the lane, a group of herbalists stir cauldrons with wild ingredients. Twigs, feathers, snakeskins, glittering beads. Are they potions, soups, perfumes? Depends how brave you are, one says. A young couple tries a ladle, they laugh, then stop laughing, then start again, too loudly. You decide to stick with cabbage soup. Near the far end, a tent shimmers strangely, not gold, not silk, something in between. A woman waits inside, surrounded by mirrors. You see yourself approach, once, twice, 5 times. She offers you a deal. You give me one fear. I give you one truth. You hesitate. She shrugs. No fear, no truth. You walk away. But you feel watched the rest of the day. This part of the market attracts scholars and madmen alike. You overhear Latin spoken beside nonsense. A friar argues with a boy over whether dreams are a form of prophecy. The boy wins. You're not sure how. Someone sells letters from angels. You open one. It's just a smiley face drawn in charcoal. You laugh, then frown, then wonder why it's unsettling. In a corner shaded by a tapestry depicting a snake eating the sun, an old man sells time. Literally. He has sand in bottles, each labeled a moment of joy, an hour of forgetting, 3 seconds before heartbreak. You ask him how they work. He says, depends when you open them. You buy one. You don't open it. Not yet. The shadows stretch longer. The bells begin to toll again, marking vespers, the evening prayer hour. Some people bow their heads, others keep bartering. A few run as if trying to get home before the church finishes its chant. The magic lane doesn't flinch. If anything, it leans deeper into its strange rhythm. You pass a seller of ink that writes itself. She dips a quill, holds it over parchment, and words begin to crawl across the page. This moment is not as real as it seems. You step back. She smiles. It never is. Another merchant offers whispers and jars. You unscrew one and hear a child's laugh. Another contains sobbing. A third, your name, spoken gently. You don't ask how she knows it. She doesn't explain. Here, truth is optional. Symbols matter more than coins. You see a woman trade a lock of hair for a pendant. A man sells his reflection for a knife shaped like the moon. No one blinks. No one judges. The rules here were written in another language, probably one that no longer exists. One tent is filled with books bound in skin. You don't know what kind. You don't want to know. The titles change when you squint. One reads Everything You've Forgotten. Another, How You'll End. The third, Just Your Birthday. You don't touch them. And yet, you're not afraid. Not exactly. Because this part of the market, strange as it is, doesn't threaten. It invites. It asks, what if the world is wider than you've been told? And if you're brave enough to say maybe, it gives you a little piece of that answer, wrapped in a riddle, tied with a curse, delivered with a wink. You leave the magic lane as the sun kisses the rooftops. The golden light bleeds into dusk, and though you carry nothing, no spell jars, no bone charms, no scrolls, you feel altered, like you glimpsed something just beyond the veil, and it glimpsed you back. The market still buzzes, still shifts, but this corner, it lingers, even after you walk away, especially then. Section 9. You move now toward the outer rim of the market, where the crowds begin to thin, and the noise gives way to a kind of hush. Not silence, never silence in a place like this, but a murmur, like the sea pulling away from the shore. This is where the outsiders gather, not the peasants or craftsmen or performers, but the ones who don't quite fit in anywhere else. You've arrived at the place where stories are traded like currency. The first person you meet is a storyteller with no mouth, or at least none you can see. His face is wrapped in a patterned cloth, lips completely hidden, yet his voice flows clear and rich from somewhere beneath. He sits cross-legged before a fire pit, even though no flames flicker there, just smoke, blue and slow. You stop. He begins. His tale is of a knight who swallowed a star to chase a demon across 7 dreamscapes. It's nonsense, obviously, but it feels right. The rhythm of it, the gravity, the phrases like forgotten lullabies. You sit with 3 strangers and forget that you've never seen them before. Someone passes a cup of spiced cider. You drink without asking. The story twists into a whisper and ends without warning. Everyone nods, as if they've been told a secret they were already keeping. You stand, dizzy in a pleasant way, and wander further down the edge row, where broken carts become stages and worn tents become theaters. There's a girl with a violin made from driftwood and string. She plays a song so sad it makes your teeth ache. Coins fall into her open case like rain. You add one and swear the melody shifts for you alone. Next to her, a man reads fortunes from teeth, real teeth. He rattles them in a wooden bowl like dice, then spreads them out. Ah, he says, studying the shapes, you've eaten too many promises. You tip him a dried fig. He grins, 3 teeth short. A woman sculpts portraits from candle wax, but only while you talk to her. If you go silent, she stops. Her hands freeze mid-pose. You say your name, your favorite color, the last dream you remember. She hums. When she finishes, the wax is eerily accurate. It melts before your eyes. She shrugs. All stories end. You hear music with no source. Follow it. Find 3 monks performing Gregorian chants while spinning on their heels like tops. They stop suddenly, giggle, and bow. To remind us, one says, that prayer should be joyful. You believe him. The edge row is quieter but not safer. You pass a man sitting perfectly still, eyes open, not blinking. A sign at his feet says, I see the real you. You hurry on. Then, out of nowhere, a game. A ring of people chant around a low table scattered with bones and dice. You're pulled into it, gently, insistently. No one explains the rules. You play anyway. Roll, point, laugh. Shout, win? Maybe. Lose? Absolutely. When it's over, someone hands you a scrap of parchment that reads, "You were braver than you knew." You keep it. Farther still, a row of memory sellers squat on blankets, each with a strange assortment of objects: rusted nails, baby shoes, dried flowers, cracked cups. "These hold memories," one whispers. "Not yours, but they'll feel like it." You pick up a tiny sock and feel a wave of longing so sharp it cuts the wind out of you. You drop it. They say nothing. As twilight deepens, torches bloom along the edges of the market, their glow soft and amber. Fireflies drift lazily near the hedges. Someone starts to sing again, this time a lullaby, slow and low. You realize this part of the market doesn't want to be seen. It wants to be remembered, and only by those who listened well. You find a wall of names carved haphazardly into a long plank of oak. Some are new, some are centuries old. You run your fingers along the notches. A woman beside you whispers, "Add yours if you dare." You hesitate, then carve only a single initial. That feels like enough. A boy sells bottled laughter, tiny flasks sealed with wax and charm. You uncork one. A giggle escapes, hovers in the air and vanishes. You don't need to buy it. The laugh already touched you. Still, you slip him a coin. He bows, says nothing. And then comes the bell. Not a toll from the church, but a soft chime from somewhere distant. The edge row reacts like animals sensing a storm. Stalls close fast. Tents collapse in practiced movements. The violin girl vanishes between shadows. The storyteller disappears, his fire pit still smoking. The memory sellers pack away the past. You blink, they're gone. Now it's just you, and the quiet, the true quiet at last. You turn toward the heart of the market again, the place where light and life still flicker. But you feel something cling to your cloak. Not a hand, not a presence, just story, like it doesn't want to let go, like it followed you home. Section 10. You return now toward the center of the market, not because you're finished exploring, but because the day is slipping into something else. Evening in a medieval village doesn't arrive all at once. It folds in slowly, like a dark cloth being draped over the world. And with it comes a change in the market's rhythm. The clamor softens, replaced by low voices, the scrape of benches being moved, the creak of carts returning to their resting spots. But not everyone is packing up. In fact, some are just beginning. You've wandered into what the locals might call the feast stretch, a chaotic, joyful corridor where food, drink, and song now melt together into something not quite a meal, not quite a performance, but something deeply human. It begins with a communal fire. In the very center of the square, a great pit has been filled with dry logs and branches. It's been smoldering since midday, but now it roars alive. Sparks leap. Shadows flicker wildly against the stone walls. The warmth draws people like moths. You're pulled too, unwillingly willing. Someone hands you a wooden bowl. No words, just food. It's some kind of barley stew, thick with root vegetables and salted meat. It tastes better than it looks, and far better than anything you'd expect in a world where food is often scarcity and survival. You don't ask who cooked it, they probably all did. Around the fire, the stories start again, this time with music. A group of travelers, faces darkened by road dust and sun, pull out odd instruments, flutes made from horn, a drum that's just a bucket turned upside down, a lyre with 3 strings and 1 broken one. They don't need perfection. They need rhythm. They begin to play. You feel it before you hear it. It vibrates in your feet, in the bench, in your ribs. Then the melody rises, not sweet, not sad, something ancient and stubborn, like the bones of the land beneath your shoes. Someone starts to sing. Others join. It's a song about the moon falling in love with a miller's daughter. It makes no sense. It makes perfect sense. Plates begin to appear. Cheeses wrapped in leaves. Hard brown bread. Apples baked whole with cloves and honey. A man roasts sausages on sticks over the fire and flips them with a dagger. A child offers you a bite of something red and steaming. You take it without thinking. Later, you learn it was beetroot soaked in mulled wine and dusted with ash. Somehow it works. By now, the market feels less like a market and more like a village wedding. Everyone knows each other, or pretends to. Strangers share mugs and songs and chairs. The laughter is louder, the smiles easier. No one's selling anything anymore. This is the part of the day you can't fake. The part that must grow out of wariness and joy in equal measure. A priest shows up, blesses the food quickly, and immediately accepts a cup of ale. No sermons tonight, just fellowship. He plays dice with a girl who beats him 4 times in a row and insists it's divine punishment for his bad temper. He nods solemnly, then demands a rematch. You sit beside an old woman with hair like dandelion fluff, and she asks you what your name used to be. Not what it is now, what it used to be. You say nothing. She nods as if that's the right answer. She gives you a coin with a hole in the center and says, "This will remind you." Of what? You don't ask. You already know. From somewhere near the fire comes a new smell, roasting chestnuts, rich and earthy. You follow your nose and find a girl no older than 12 managing the pan. Her hands move with quiet authority. She offers you one. You burn your fingers. She laughs. Now it's yours. You pop it in your mouth, wincing. It's worth it. Then come the ghost stories, because of course they do. This is medieval Europe. The fire is crackling, the sky is ink, and no one has any illusions about death being far away. Might as well invite it to sit down and behave. The stories aren't like the ones you know. They don't follow arcs. They don't resolve. A man with a voice like wet gravel tells of a woman who could only be seen in reflections. A child whispers about a goat that walked on 2 legs and knocked exactly 3 times. Each tale is a little darker than the last. But they aren't told to scare. They're told to remember. And then someone asks you to tell a story. Everyone turns to look. The fire pops. The music softens. You freeze. What story do you have that could possibly matter here? You begin anyway. You don't even know what you're saying at first. Maybe a memory, maybe a lie. But as the words leave your mouth, you feel them stretch, wrap around the fire, and settle into the air like smoke. When you finish, no one claps. They just nod. Someone passes you a second bowl of stew. You've been accepted. Time bends here. You lose track of it completely. It could be 8 o'clock. It could be midnight. The stars burn brighter now than they have all day. You count them idly. Someone sings again, this time a funeral hymn, but it feels like a lullaby. Children sleep in their mothers' laps. Men lean on each other's shoulders. A dog curls beside a stranger. In the distance, a rooster crows once, then again. Not quite dawn, but close. People begin to stir reluctantly. You stand, stretch, blink. It feels like waking from a shared dream, but the warmth of the fire still clings to your cloak, and the laughter lingers behind your ears. You didn't trade gold today. You didn't strike a bargain, but you gained something harder to measure, a piece of this world that now lives in you. The market isn't gone yet, but it's preparing to vanish, and so are you. But not without one last look behind you. The fire, the songs, the stories, still flickering in your mind, still echoing in your ribs, still yours. Section 11. The first gray streaks of morning barely touch the edges of the village rooftops, but already the market is beginning its gentle exhale. It doesn't vanish all at once, nothing so dramatic. Instead, it withdraws, little by little, like a tide slipping out from under your feet. You wake in a patch of hay beneath a shuttered stall. You're not alone. 3 other villagers have the same idea, one of them softly snoring, another chewing on yesterday's bread without shame. You stretch, you stand, and for a moment you wonder if you imagined everything that happened. The fire, the feast, the music, the woman with mirrors, the goat-legged ghost. But the ash on your sleeves and the coin in your pocket say otherwise. The medieval market, in all its dirt and joy and strange humanity, was real. And it isn't quite finished with you yet. Vendors begin their ritual of return, a quiet, practiced process of gathering, bundling, lifting, and tucking. Some work quickly, others take their time. A man folds his tapestries like he's tucking in a child. A woman wipes each of her clay pots with a corner of her apron, humming a hymn under her breath. A juggler sleeps sitting upright, apples scattered like fallen stars. Someone lays a cloak over his shoulders before moving on. You see the fishmonger again, packing the last of his catch in damp cloth. He sees you and offers a nod, not friendly, but not cold either, just seen. That's the market's last gift, to remind you that you were here, that someone noticed. Down the lane, the spice seller lights a final stick of incense, not to sell, but as thanks. The smell curls into the soft morning air, cardamom and citrus peel, warm and clean. She breathes it in deeply, closes her eyes for a moment, and smiles at no one. It's the kind of gesture you'll remember later, though you won't know why. A man with bells on his shoes, perhaps the same one who danced through the crowd at dusk, walks backwards across the square, whispering to himself. When he passes you, he winks and says, "Walk the same path backward, and you'll find your first memory." Then he's gone. You don't test the theory, but you do look over your shoulder, just once. Near the old well, the children are awake. They don't help with packing. They invent games from what's left behind: sticks and baskets, spilled grain, bits of string. One child tries to balance on a potato. Another wears a flour sack like a robe. They declare themselves queen of the empty stall. You salute them. They knight you with a leek. It is, you admit, an honor. The performers are the last to go, as if they know that leaving too early breaks the spell too quickly. The violin girl gives her instrument a final stroke before slipping it into a satchel patched with stars. The fire eater carefully snuffs his torches and tucks them into a case that looks suspiciously like a coffin. The bear costume hangs from a rope, steaming slightly in the chill. Its owner stretches, groans, and for the first time just looks like a man. A tired, happy man. A boy with chalk-stained fingers draws something on the stones. A spiral, surrounded by letters you don't understand. As people step around it, some glance down, a few smile. One woman steps directly into its center and twirls, laughing, then walks away lighter. You hesitate, then do the same. It feels silly. It feels perfect. A friar distributes bread from a sack, handing out what's left to those who didn't sell much. No prayers, just quiet generosity. He gives you a piece too. You eat it slowly, watching the market dissolve, stall by stall, shadow by shadow, memory by memory. Even the animals begin to leave. Horses neigh from the hitching posts. Donkeys are loaded with folded tables and spare crates. A chicken squawks loudly from someone's pocket. The goat from earlier, yes, that goat, climbs onto an empty cart and stares at you. 3 seconds, then jumps off and vanishes into the morning mist. You think that might be the last strange thing. It's not. Because suddenly, you see a figure you don't remember seeing before. She stands at the edge of the market, just where the road curves out of view. Draped in deep gray, face shadowed, hands clasped, she says nothing, does nothing, just stands. You glance away, and when you look back, she's gone. A final bell rings, not the church this time, but one hung from a post in the center of the market. It sways in the wind, its voice soft and sad like a sigh stretched thin. One by one, people begin to leave. Not hurried, not slow, just steady. You walk to where the name board was. It's gone. In its place, a single word carved into the dirt. Stay. You smile. You don't know, but you understand. The road away from the market is muddy but clear. You take it without knowing what direction it leads. That doesn't seem to matter anymore. Your boots are worn. Your cloak smells like smoke and stew. Your satchel holds nothing of value except a broken spoon and that parchment from the game that says you were braver than you knew. You feel different. Not changed entirely, but shifted. Like a door was cracked open inside your ribs, and something saw through. As the sun finishes rising, you hear a final voice from behind you, distant, echoing, uncertain if it's real. We'll be here again when you need us. You don't turn around, you just walk. Because some dreams are best left behind you until the next time you stumble into them again. Section 12. The road away from the market winds lazily through the countryside, skirting hedgerows and splashing through shallow brooks. You keep expecting the hum of the market to follow you, the thrum of music or the cry of a hawker echoing through the fields. But no, it stays behind, fading like a dream at the edge of waking. Still, you carry something with you. A heaviness, but not a burden, more like a fullness. Like you've eaten a meal you didn't realize you were hungry for. You keep walking, and eventually you come across another village. It's smaller than the one you left. Less a town and more a knot of houses stitched together by dirt paths and sheep fences. Smoke rises from only a few chimneys. No bells ring. No songs drift. The silence here isn't ominous, just sleepy. You pause at the edge, unsure whether to enter. Then a child waves at you. Just like that, you belong. They take you in without question, offer you a stool by the fire and a cup of something warm. You listen to their stories, not wild or magical, just everyday things. A cow went missing. A shoemaker's daughter is getting married. The priest fell asleep during mass again. It's quiet. It's safe. It's enough. For now. But one night, as you sit beneath the eaves and stare at a sky littered with stars, you hear a whisper, not from the wind, from memory. The market isn't done with you after all. A few weeks pass, maybe more. Days blend. You help stack firewood, you mend a fence, you learn the names of the goats and which ones like to bite. But you start seeing signs: a sprig of rosemary tied to your doorknob with red string, a coin with a hole in it lodged in your boot, a scrap of parchment under your pillow that reads, "It's time." You ask the old woman who runs the bread oven what it might mean. She says nothing, just smiles, like she's heard the story before. And then one morning, you wake up to find the village changed. Not broken, not cursed, just shifted. The sky is a deeper shade of gray than it should be. The air smells faintly of myrrh and cider. And in the distance, down the path that was always just empty pasture, you see a market stall, just one, with a red cloth roof, and behind it a man in a feathered cap, arranging apples into a perfect pyramid. You blink, you run, you arrive breathless, and suddenly the stall is gone. But the apples remain, stacked carefully on the grass. You pick one up, warm, glossy, you bite it, and everything comes rushing back. The laughter, the bells, the songs sung in languages you don't know but somehow understand, the woman in mirrors, the boy with teeth dice, the stew that tasted like memory, all of it, alive again, inside you. You fall to your knees in the grass, overwhelmed but not afraid. You understand now. You didn't leave the market. The market left with you. And so you start to wander, not with purpose, but with openness, following gut feelings, strange breezes, and birds that seem to wait for you before flying off. Each new village holds a trace, a whisper, sometimes just a chalk spiral behind a barn, other times a full street of lanterns that weren't there the night before. You begin to suspect the market is not a place, but a kind of being, a creature that lives in spaces between things, between time, between memory, between footsteps. One night you wake in a clearing. You don't remember falling asleep there, but before you, laid out like a dream given flesh, is the entire market again, larger this time, wider, lit with 1,000 floating candles. And at its entrance, the same name board, but this time your name is already carved into it, in perfect script. Twice, you walk forward. The return is familiar, but not repetitive. The magic lane greets you with new riddles. The edge row has different performers, different stories, but some faces are the same. The chalk boy, the mirror woman, even the goat, this time chewing a garland of wildflowers. You laugh, they nod, the fire roars again, and the music begins. But now you know your role. You're not just a guest anymore. You bring something to the market. You carry it in your pockets, in your voice, in your memory. You tell stories by the fire. You pass out carved tokens to the children. You whisper riddles to first-timers who stare at the mirror tent in fear. You belong. You are, in your own quiet way, part of the market now. And the best part? You know it will follow you again. When you leave this time, you won't be sad, because you understand how it works. The market shows up not where it's wanted, but where it's needed. In tired villages, in hearts with quiet cracks, in people who carry too much grief, or wonder, or songs with no one to sing them to. And you'll be there when it returns. Selling stories, giving laughter in jars, pointing toward the candle woman, or the fishmonger, or the boy with the goat, or maybe just offering someone a bowl of stew, because you remember what it felt like the first time, and you want them to feel it too. The shock of finding a world that says, you belong here. The comfort of learning that you've been walking toward this your whole life. The truth that it never really ends. Section 13. The seasons begin to change around you now, not just in the trees or the wind, but in the way the villages themselves seem to shift. One by one, they become quieter. The laughter thins. The faces you pass on the road look older, more drawn, less curious. You've started noticing it, haven't you? That the market isn't appearing as often. Or maybe it is, just not for you. Not yet. But that's part of the agreement, whether you knew it or not. The market doesn't cling. It comes when needed, and only when the path is clear again. So you walk, and wait, and wonder. Then one morning, you hear it again. The distant ring of a bell that doesn't belong. You look up from the stream where you were washing apples, and there it is, a single red ribbon tied to the low branch of a birch tree. Nothing else. No sign, no whisper, no scent of myrrh or stew, Just that ribbon. You touch it, and the world seems to fold. You're standing before the market again. No path, no journey, just there. No one around you notices. Not the farmers sowing grain, not the monks muttering Latin under their breath, not the child trying to balance a chicken on his head. It's like a door only you can see. So you do what you've always done. You step inside. But this time it's different. The colors are sharper. The tents feel taller. The air hums louder, not in your ears, but somewhere under your skin. And then you realize this is not just another visit. This is the heart market. The one that comes only once in a life, maybe once in many. The center, the origin, the beginning of all the others. There are no signs, no names, no labels. Each tent is faceless, colorless, until you approach. Then, and only then, does it shape itself into something you need. You walk past one, and it turns into a library made entirely of leaf pages that whisper your dreams. Another becomes a bakery, but the loaves smell like memories you forgot you missed. You don't enter either. Not yet. Not until you see the one that becomes a mirror. Not a regular one. A mirror that shows every version of you, not side by side but layered. All at once. The child, the broken one, the one who left, the one who stayed, the brave one, the coward, the wanderer, the one who sang that night by the fire and never stopped. You stare, you don't cry, but you understand. And then you step through it, because of course it's a door. Inside, the air is still and warm and red. Not blood red, more like the red behind your eyelids when you close them in sunlight. In the center of the room, a table, on it, a book. And you already know what it is, your market, your journey. Every tent you entered, every stew you tasted, every story you told or were told. It's all written there, not in ink, but in tiny carvings etched into wooden pages. You flip to the end. The last page is blank, waiting. A woman sits in the corner. You know her. Of course you do. She's the one who watched you the first day you arrived, the one with the shadowed face. She doesn't speak, just nods toward a carving knife on the table. You understand. You pick it up and begin to write your ending. It doesn't have to be profound or poetic. You just write what you know to be true. I came here lost. I leave here full. You add a smile and a sun. Then you close the book. The room exhales. So do you. Outside, the market is glowing, everything touched with gold. Not real gold, the kind that comes from firelight and honey and love given freely. And for the first time you realize everyone is looking at you, not because you're special, but because you've become part of the market story now. You're not just visiting, you are one of its keepers, one of its wanderers who will appear again to others when they need it. You are a stall, a song, a spoon in someone else's stew. Someone hands you a lantern, not lit, not heavy. They whisper, "Find the next one." And you understand, you nod, you walk, and behind you, the market folds away again, like breath, like light, like something holy we're never supposed to grasp too tightly. The road is long ahead, but you carry the lantern, and your heart is warm. And somewhere, maybe a year from now, maybe a decade, a child will hear a song with no source, or find a coin with a hole in the center, or dream a story that tastes like ash and apple and honey, and they will follow it. And there you'll be, waiting, with a story and a bowl of stew. Section 4. You travel now not as a visitor, but as something more. A vessel, perhaps. A lantern with legs, walking quietly through lands that do not know what they're missing until you pass by. You don't speak of the market unless someone asks, but sometimes, just sometimes, people seem to sense it in you. A child stops you on a road, asks if you've ever tasted thyme. You smile and offer her an apple wrapped in waxed cloth. She bites it and says, "It tastes like a story." You say, "That's because it is." You arrive at a village without a name, no signpost, no steeple, just a scattering of stone homes around a dry well and a windmill missing one blade. People greet you like they've seen you before. Maybe they have. You never ask. The village is tired, not broken, just worn. Like boots that have walked too far on roads that were never meant to last this long. The people are kind, but their kindness is quiet. There are no songs here, no markets, not even a child's laugh. You settle in, you chop wood, you teach a boy how to carve a toy from driftwood. You give an old woman a ribbon she forgot she lost years ago. And one night when the wind is cold and the moon is full, you leave a single coin, a coin with a hole in the center on the lip of the well. You don't stay to see what happens. You walk away, but you dream again that night of tents glowing in a fog, of stew boiling under stars, of songs made entirely of names. When you wake, there's dirt on your boots that wasn't there before. You smile, because that's how it always works. Then, one day, you find something you weren't expecting. You stumble upon a man sitting at the crossroads. He has no shoes, just bells tied to his ankles and feathers braided in his beard. He looks up and says, "Took you long enough." You recognize him, though he's older, weary. He asks, "Do you still carry the lantern?" You show him. He nods. "Mine went out," he says, "but I remember how it felt. That's enough." You sit beside him, and for a while you both watch the wind move the grass. He tells you stories, not of monsters or curses or magic mirrors, but of people, a baker who sang to his dough, a smith who forged keys that opened only boxes of tears, a girl who dreamed she was a bridge and woke up with footprints on her spine. You don't know if they're true, but you believe every word. And when he finishes, you reach into your satchel and pull out a tiny spoon carved from chestnut wood. You give it to him. He holds it like it weighs 1,000 memories. You leave him with a fire, just small, enough to warm the toes. As you walk away, you hear him begin to hum. It's the melody of the stew song, the one sung by the mirror woman, the one that always comes back. Days blur again. You pass through towns where the market has never been, yet you plant seeds, a riddle whispered at a well, a carved token hidden under a stone, a single red ribbon on a doorknob. You never stay long, but somehow people begin to remember you, even if they've never met you. You're a whisper now, a rumor, a promise. One night, while resting under a tree wrapped in vines, you dream of the market breaking apart, not violently, but like autumn leaves drifting in a spiral. You wake with a gasp, and then you see them, children, 7 of them, sitting around you, silent. Each holds a different item, a chalk spiral, a broken flute, a coin, a lantern, a riddle written on cloth, a bowl of stew, and a mirror no larger than a hand. They say nothing, but their eyes say everything. They are the next, the new keepers, the new wanderers. You nod. You understand. Your time is ending. You're not sad, not really, because this was never about staying. It was about giving away the story, and now they will carry it forward, better than you ever could. You walk with them for a while. Teach them how to light a fire with patience, not flint, how to turn a memory into a melody, how to listen to silence long enough for it to speak. Then you reach a ridge. Below it, a town you've never seen before. It doesn't matter. You smile. You tell them, it's time. They nod. They walk down the hill, lanterns glowing, tokens ready, and just like that, you're alone again, but not lonely. You've left yourself behind 100 times now, in 100 lives. That's the magic. That's the deal. You sit by the edge of the ridge until night falls. You eat the last of your stew, you hum the stew song, and you close your eyes. Maybe you'll sleep, maybe you won't, but either way, you are exactly where you need to be. Section 15. The wind rises gently, combing through the tall grass around you as if trying to whisper one last story into your ear. You sit perfectly still, back resting against a stone that looks like it's been waiting there for you for centuries. And perhaps it has. Because this is where endings begin. And the market, if you listen closely enough, has one final song for you. You close your eyes, and there it is. Faint, like it's being sung from behind the world. The stew song. But slower now, softer, as if someone is singing it to a sleeping child, maybe you. You open your eyes and the world has shifted again. Not visibly, but deeply. The sort of shift you feel in your bones before your eyes catch up. In front of you, where moments ago there was only emptiness, there now stands a small wooden cart. No horse, no wheels turning. Just a cart with 4 lanterns hanging from each corner, all unlit. It's yours. You know it before you stand. It doesn't need to be explained. This is how it ends. This is how it begins. You approach it slowly, reverently, running your hand along the wood. The grain is familiar, like a path you've traced in dreams. The top of the cart is open. Inside, you find not gold, not scrolls, not relics, but stories. Hundreds of them, carved into small wooden chips. Each one warm to the touch. Each one humming with the life it holds. Some are yours. Some are older than memory. Some are still blank, waiting. The cart is not heavy when you pull it. It rolls behind you without resistance, lanterns gently swaying. You walk into the dusk, not toward any village in particular, but toward the feeling. The sense that somewhere out there, someone needs a story, a reminder, a glimpse of something they thought lost or impossible or imagined. A market with no map, a stew that tastes like memory, a boy with dice made of teeth, a mirror that doesn't judge, a whisper that says, "You are not alone." As twilight deepens, the road splits. To the left, a path winding through moss and thistles, smelling faintly of cardamom. To the right, a track of flattened earth recently traveled. You smile, flip a token from your pocket, a coin with a hole through its heart. Let it land, and follow. There's no fear anymore, no uncertainty, only the certainty that this is your purpose. Not to arrive, but to walk, to carry, to give, one riddle at a time, one lantern at a time. One child asking if time has a flavor, and you telling them yes. Yes, it does. It tastes like wood smoke, and fresh apples, and the sound of laughter in the dark. Later that night, as you set up your little stall beneath the canopy of stars, you light just one of the lanterns. The glow is small but strong. It paints the grass with warm light and draws the attention of someone, just a silhouette now approaching from the edge of the trees. You wait, because that's what keepers do. And when the figure comes into view, a young woman with a pack too large for her shoulders and a look in her eyes like she's been searching for something she can't name, you nod. Offer her a wooden chip. She turns it over in her hand and reads what's carved into it. Her breath catches. She looks up, smiles, and you know the market has found her. That night, under the stars, you tell her your first story. The one that started it all. The dream, the stew, the boy with the goat, the mirror that opened instead of judging, and she listens. Not with her ears only, but with everything. And when you finish, she says, "It feels like I've been here before." You nod. You say, "Maybe you have." And in her eyes you see it, the flicker, the flame, the spark of a new wanderer, a new keeper, a new chapter. And that is enough. That is everything. You lie down in the grass nearby. The lantern burns gently beside you. The stories rest within reach. The night holds you like a lullaby. And just before sleep takes you, you whisper, "We'll be here again when you need us." Because you will. You always will. Werhinge Vlaanded Wordsen. And now, the night is quiet. The last tent is folded. The stew pot is empty. The laughter echoes only faintly in the corners of your memory, like candle smoke curling through rafters long abandoned. The lantern flickers gently on the edge of your dreams. There's no need to rush now. No need to understand everything. The market was never meant to be mapped. It arrives not in space or time, but in stillness, in need, in longing. So breathe deeply now. Let the air carry the scent of myrrh, roasted chestnuts, and distant bells. Let your limbs grow heavy, your thoughts softer. Let the stories settle inside you like glowing embers, warming the coldest corners of your heart. You were braver than you knew. You always have been. And the market remembers. Always. So if one night, far from now, you hear the cry of a street performer in a language you don't quite know, if you taste something that reminds you of a story you can't place, if a coin with a hole in it appears in your pocket, don't be afraid. The road is ready, and so are you. Dim the lights, leave the lantern burning a little longer, and sleep. You've walked far enough for now. The market will wait. End of script. Sweet dreams.